Hey, it's Eric G. Around the House is sponsored by Baldwin Hardware. For 75 years, Baldwin Hardware has been known for its first-class quality and craftsmanship in door and cabinetry hardware. As an alumnus of the Baldwin Hardware Design Council, I can say I have seen the details and quality from design to the finished product. If you're looking for a new style and old-world craftsmanship, I can tell you there is only one Baldwin Hardware. Check out what would look great in your home at baldwinhardware.com.
It's Around the House.
I always miss in the construction industry, right? What are some of the ones you see out there where you just roll your eyes and go, oh, it's this one again?
You're right. There are a lot of concerns out there that sometimes are completely unbased. And one of them is that a metal roof is going to be noisy. I literally in 44 years in this industry, I have had 2 complaints about noise.
Around the House show is brought to you by Pyramid Heating and Cooling. Serving in Oregon, the Portland metro area, and Bend, Oregon, they are your one-stop shop for heating and cooling and indoor air quality. To find out more, head to pyramidheating.com. Oregon CCB 59382.
When it comes to remodeling and renovating your home, there is a lot to know, but we've got you covered. This is Around the House.
Welcome to the Around the House show, the next generation of home improvement. Thanks for joining me today. Doesn't matter if you're on the Talk Media Network out there catching us on the radio or the podcast or streaming online. Thanks for joining us today. And we've got an amazing interview today. This is going to be so much fun. And anytime him and I get together, it's always a good time. So thanks for joining us. I've got Todd Miller, president of Isaiah Industries. We're going to talk metal roofing today, but he's also the host of the Construction Disruption podcast. So got a fellow podcaster here as well. Welcome to Around the House, brother.
Hey, thank you so much. I always enjoy talking with you and love all the work that you do. So thank you, Eric. Looking forward to it.
Oh, always fun, man. And you have such a great brand out there with Isaiah Industries and creating metal roofing. And I am such a fan of it. And it has come a long way over the years. It's not just that metal shed stuff that people think of sometimes. It can look very architectural.
It really can. And that really is up to the consumer or the property owner and whatever sort of look that they want. But that is certainly a nice thing. You can have that traditional long vertical seam metal roof look, or you can get metal roofs that really look like high-end slate or wood shakes or shingles or clay tile. So lots and lots of alternatives.
And I think what's cool is the durability of it. It doesn't matter what look you're going for. If you've got something where you've got extreme weather, whether it's snow, heat, or whatever else, it is a great option.
It really is. And that's what a lot of folks will ask me is, where is metal roofing most popular? And I'm like, any place that has severe weather that they're trying to fight or they're concerned about tends to be a good market for metal roofing, whether that's coastal areas worried about hurricanes or out west worried about wildfires or even areas worried about seismic activity are oftentimes turning to metal because it is so much lower weight than other roof systems. Especially a lot of those seismic prone areas use heavy tile roofing. And that's just really just asking for the house to collapse if much movement goes on, whereas a metal option provides a much lower weight option for them.
You're going to laugh about this, and you're bringing up a great example. So I'm going to call a buddy out because he's having a new house built in, we'll just call it Arizona, and we'll leave it at that so we can keep this a little vague. But home builder, he's buying it in a neighborhood, one of the big home builders in the area, putting it in. And I'm watching them build, which is completely different than they do out here on the West Coast. And I guarantee way different from the East Coast. I'm watching this house. They've got some plywood. It's framed up. They got plywood or OSB actually around the garage door. I get that for sheer. There's nothing on the outside walls. They've got the roof actually sheathed and they've got the tile preloaded up there. And I'm like, you were putting how many tens of thousands of pounds on the roof of this? And you haven't got any shear up on the side of the house? I was just like, I'm like one windstorm away. That thing's got to come over like a deck of cards.
Yeah, that does seem awfully dangerous. That's for sure. Interesting.
Wow, they're different than they do here, but they don't have snow load. They don't have a lot of the other issues, but still, like, doesn't take much wind to push a building like that over. And they had a couple 2x4s up as shear on it, but I'm like, wow, that's Obviously, they haven't had one happen yet, but at some point they probably will. They were going to do stucco on the outside. But literally, they just put up some, they didn't even use OSB on the sides of that thing or plywood. They put up some kind of a composite board and stuccoed right over the top of it. So it was foam board on the outside over the studs. So I still looked at that and went, I don't get where they're getting any strength out of that material.
Strength, right.
Very strange when you see that, but you just brought that up with that roofing. There's so much weight up there. And I'll be honest, I don't want to have 10 or 15,000 pounds over the top of my head in a seismic zone and wondering, is that going to stay up there?
Yeah. It's interesting. We actually sell quite a bit of our product into Japan, which is unusual. Not a lot of American building products manufacturers sell into Asia, but what really got that started was, I'm old enough to remember this, there was a really severe earthquake a number of years ago in Kobe, Japan. And what they noticed was the houses that had their traditional tile roofs just caved in. And so they really moved toward lower weight roofing materials after that. And it's turned out to be a nice market for us for a lot of years at this point. Don't tell my competitors.
The physics don't lie on that. It's basic. Okay, we're going to put all this concrete, ceramic, or clay product over my heads and hoping it stays up when everything down below it moves. Yeah. Why not lighten that up a bit? It's a good call.
Absolutely.
I got to ask you, so what got you started with all of this with Isaiah Industries, and how did Isaiah Industries start out? Because it's not a new company.
Sure. No, it isn't. The company was actually formed by my father back in 1980. He had been an engineer with Alcoa Building Products in the 70s, always had the entrepreneurial bug, and left there in 1980 to start this company. And I was in high school, so I was working summers and high school and college, and came into the business full time in 1986. But our business has changed a lot over those years, because back then residential metal roofing was almost unheard of. Metal had maybe a 1.5% share of the residential roofing market. And we were selling a lot of commercial roofing. So we had national accounts with Pizza Hut and Dairy Queen and IHOP and 7-Eleven and all these chains of the colorful roofs that dotted the highways and byways of our country. But in the mid 80s, we saw that commercial business was going to be real prone to fads. And so we started spending some time with a few contractors scattered around who were selling our products residentially, learning what they were doing. And then we just went out and started replicating them, finding more contractors that were, hey, buddy, you want to try this new metal roofing stuff? And that was the way it happened. So I did a lot of traveling around the country and set up a network of contractors really across the country who are experienced with our products. But really, I think our industry started to grow a lot with the formation of an organization called the Metal Roofing Alliance. And the Metal Roofing Alliance is an organization I've been involved with for about 25 years. And I currently am blessed to serve as chair or president of it. But our goal through that organization is consumer awareness and education about metal roofing. And so over the years, we have seen metal now is at about a 15% share of the residential re-roofing market, probably around 8 or 9% of the residential new construction market. But it's very much the number two player, whereas it used to be metal was sunk down at the bottom with tile and wood shakes and slate, and we all had little single-digit market share numbers. But today, metal is clearly number two behind the obvious industry leader, which is asphalt shingles.
Sure. And we notice that asphalt shingles, like everything else, when oil prices change, those things sure change in price as well. So that can get to be a little chaotic sometimes when we see as those political seasons change and everything else. All of a sudden, when oil goes crazy, so do those building materials.
Yeah, they really do. They are heavily dependent upon the oil market, and so their prices are really dictated largely by that. The other thing that we saw, and I don't think they can do much different, but back in the 70s when we had the oil embargo, and again, stuff I can remember. But what they actually did was they cut the oil content in the shingles. And so a lot of folks out here say, I had shingles that used to last 35, 40 years, and they don't anymore. And that's usually what it comes down to, is looking at the oil content. But cutting the oil content makes them affordable and makes them viable because it lessens their need for oil content.
Yeah, it sure depends on climate too, because I've noticed that here as well, that what would be called a 20 or a 25-year roof in our market, because of one, we get a lot of rain, and two, we get so much damage from moss and stuff like that, and people trying to clean that off. To find out more information about the show, head to aroundthehouseonline.com. We'll return with Todd Miller from Isaiah Industries. We're talking metal roofing just as soon as Around the House returns. Don't change that dial.
Should I be allowed to be so hot? So many people with
Do you want to be an Around the House insider? For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can get exclusive extended episodes, early access to the weekend show, and exclusive access to me, Eric G, for project questions and comments. Click on the link on your podcast player in the show notes or head to aroundthehouseonline.com and look for the join here button. Plus, the exclusive episodes are nearly commercial free. I don't want you to miss out on any of the giveaways or special offers. Thanks for tuning in to Around the House. Hey, it's Eric G from Around the House. Are you tired of low quality water in your home? Do you have bad tasting water? How about chemicals, minerals, and hard water scale tearing up your bathrooms, appliances, and your water heater? I have a great solution for you. It's time you stop the damage and check out King Water Filtration. This water treatment system takes care of every drop of water that comes into your home. It uses no salt, no expense filters to change, and it's made right here in the USA. Plus, it prevents hard water scale. To find out more information, head to kingwaterfiltration.com, and if you use promo code ERIC-23, it will give you $1,000 off MSRP with a discount on a filter that will resolve those water quality issues. Don't miss out on this amazing sale on a product made right here in the USA at kingwaterfiltration.com. That's kingwaterfiltration.com. And don't forget promo code ERIC-23. Welcome back to the Around the House show, the next generation of home improvement. Thanks for joining me today. We've been talking with Todd Miller about metal roofing from Isaiah Industries. And this is something, if you're thinking about a great roofing material for your next project, this is something you should be exploring. Now let's get back to the conversation with Todd. We get so much damage from moss and stuff like that, and people trying to clean that off, that sometimes those roofs last 15 years just because of that situation.
No, you're absolutely right. It very much driven by geography also. We do a lot of roofing in Texas where asphalt shingles, we commonly replace them at 7-8 years. But you get here in the Midwest, fairly moderate climate, and sure, 25, 26, 27 years is not unheard of.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been both to a asphalt shingle factory, watch them get made. And then we have a major steel manufacturing facility here in my area, a Steelscape that makes for many companies out there. And I got to watch those 50-ton rolls come in off the train, and they actually make it into and shrink that metal down into roofing. It was fascinating to watch how much steel those guys crank out. And it really shows. And it's just one of the many manufacturing places around the United States, but it was really amazing to watch how much metal goes out for residential like that.
It really is. And Steelscape is a great company. In fact, we buy some raw material from them. One of the things that they are really experts at that is also changing our industry. It used to be if you wanted to buy a metal roof, you had choices of brown, green, gray, black, and it was going to be all one color. One of the areas Steelscape has really been a leader is putting more than one color of paint on the metal so we can get roofs that actually are speckled to look like asphalt, or they're actually veined and textured to look like slate. In fact, Steelscape can put as many as, I think, 5 or 6 colors on at one time, and they can just do some amazing, what we call print coats. And those have been very revolutionary in our industry.
Yeah, my buddy John works in that over there, and Dan as well. And those guys, huge fans of the show. I chat with them almost weekly on social media. But I tell you what, those guys over there, I saw one that looked like, probably the best way to explain it was, it looked like a reclaimed, recycled, old, rusted tin roof, but it was completely manufactured. So it had that without rusting everything else around it. People, I'm going to put this very cool, I'm going to make an outside bar area and I'm going to make it look like an old shed. And they're going, hey, wait a minute. I picked up that old stuff off Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and it's throwing rust all over the place. And it's like, well, yeah, that's because it's rust and it's going to damage the concrete. They could put a brand new finish on something and it's absolutely stunning that looks like it's supposed to, but you get that warranty and new product without having to worry about something that's already 3/4 through its lifespan.
Absolutely. Rust is an impossible process to stop once it starts. And yet, folks, especially in the mountain states and Southwest, like that sort of old rusted look. And so lots of good options now with painted finishes. Another thing we're starting to see more call for is what I call natural metals. So that could be copper, it could be zinc, but another metal we see coming on real strong is anodized aluminum. So you normally think of aluminum, you put paint on it, but you can also alter the surface of the aluminum through a process called anodization, which helps the metal keep that, I call it specular. It helps it keep this sort of metallic look to it so it no longer looks like paint on there. It looks like what it is, colored metal. And so I have big hopes in coming years for anodized aluminum roofing as well.
That just adds so much durability to the outside of that anodization process. You used to see it if you're into old classic trailers. There were companies out there that used to make RVs out of anodized, not Airstream so much, but they would sit there and make anodized gold trim on the side.
Absolutely.
And, 50 years later, it looks amazing still. So that's the cool part with that process.
That's absolutely right. And a good shout out to Airstream, which is just located about 15 miles up the road from me, actually. They crank those things out by the thousands. Amazing.
All right. A little secret to anybody going out to that Heritage Center there. My little brother has 3 trailers that he has restored in their Heritage Center.
Oh, that's cool.
One that we rescued that was Wally's original Airstream and Craigslist. And it was sitting out here in a quick little side story, guys. We were sitting out here. My brother was restoring Airstreams for people. He's a school teacher. And he found one and he's like, wow, it was like $4,000. And it was pretty hammered. It had been painted on the outside a couple times, so it looked just absolutely horrible. And when my brother got the pictures, he went, wow, that's weird. Airstream never put a kitchen in the front. Let me send that over to the Heritage Center to his friend at the Airstream there that was the historian. And he called him up and just kept calling him. He was I think he was teaching class or something and kept calling him. And he says, go get that trailer. And my brother goes, I didn't even tell you what it cost. He goes, that's the holy grail. That's Wally's Airstream. We've been looking for 35 or 40 years. You found it. Where is it? So he took the next off of school and went down and paid the guy full price for it for like $4,200 or whatever and drug it home on new tires and then spent the next 2 years restoring it. But it is the only painted Airstream they really did because it was painted a yellow to match his 50s Cadillac he was pulling it with. So
I've seen pictures of it. That's an amazing story. Incredible.
Yeah. So that's been a lot of fun. He's got a few of those down there in that museum. So if you want to check out metal trailers, that's the place to go with that brand new.
Yep. And then head 15 miles south and check out metal roofing. It's a great combination.
Yeah, that's a tour I'm talking about right there. That's a tour. So I love it. But yeah, it's funny. And I think a lot of people think of metal as steel on roofing. And it's just because aluminum's a great product for that.
Yeah, it really is. It is a little bit more expensive, but especially if someone is in an area where maybe they get a lot of, could be acid rain, something that's really corrosive, or it could be a coastal area. Aluminum is a great material for those areas. But it's also what we typically find is the metal roofing customer intends to stay in their home for a very long time. They're usually the homeowner that says, oh, they're going to have to carry me out of this place. And so a very durable, long-lasting metal roof makes a lot of sense for them. And oftentimes aluminum's a good metal for them because it does have a little bit more life to it than some of the other metals even.
Yeah, and I've seen people out there now even take that 30, 40 plus year old roof that they put on that maybe was a low slope situation or whatever, and have gone back and had professionals paint them and make them look absolutely amazing again when maybe they wanted a color change or the sun did its damage like any painted surface.
Absolutely. And the paint finishes we're using today on most residential metal roofs are something called PVDF, polyvinylidene fluoride. I've practiced that for a few
I was
years.
gonna say,
But the PVDF finishes are really unmatched for their fade and chalk resistance. But you're absolutely right. At the end of 50 years, 55 years, someone looks up there and says, gee whiz, that's faded enough. I'd like to freshen it up. It's just a matter of repainting it. And when you think of commercial buildings and industrial buildings, even agricultural buildings, we're really very good at repainting stuff in our country. So that's not a major challenge at that point when and if.
yeah, I'd say it's a restaurant and it changes from one hand to the other, and they had plenty of metal roof on there before. Rarely are they tearing that off. They're just bringing in a pro and putting the right finish on it, and it looks brand new again. To find out more information about the show, head to aroundthehouseonline.com. We'll return with Todd Miller from Isaiah Industries. We're talking metal roofing just as soon as Around the House returns. Don't change that dial.
Let's sound that fan that keeps us breathing.
Hey, it's Eric G from Around the House. Are you tired of low quality water in your home? Do you have bad tasting water? How about chemicals, minerals, and hard water scale tearing up your bathrooms, appliances, and your water heater? I have a great solution for you. It's time you stop the damage and check out King Water Filtration. This water treatment system takes care of every drop of water that comes into your home. It uses no salt, no expense filters to change, and it's made right here in the USA. Plus, it prevents hard water scale. To find out more information, head to kingwaterfiltration.com, and if you use promo code ERIC-23, it will give you $1,000 off MSRP with a discount on a filter that will resolve those water quality issues. Don't miss out on this amazing sale on a product made right here in the USA at kingwaterfiltration.com. That's kingwaterfiltration.com. And don't forget promo code ERIC-23. From August 20th to 27th, it's time to fire up the grill and celebrate Monument Grill's annual Big Week. Monument Grill's Day is here, a week-long celebration of joy and outdoor cooking, perfect for backyard barbecues, community events, or just exploring the latest Monument Grill's product at your nearest store. Monument Grill's knows the best moments are shared with loved ones, even your furry friends. This year, they're inviting you to join in the fun. Capture your grill adventures and share them on social media using hashtag Monument Grill's Day to snag your one-of-a-kind avatar. It's all about celebrating those unforgettable moments and spreading the grilling love. And here's the big news. Monument Grills is kicking off their biggest giveaway campaign of the year. You could win top-tier prizes like the Denali 605 Pro 6-burner Bluetooth gas grill, the Powerhouse Mesa 415BZ 4-burner grill, or the Stylus Mesa 200G, with prizes totaling over $1,500. This is one giveaway you don't want to miss. Visit monumentgrills.com and head to the Monument Grills Day event page to learn how to join the festivities and grab your chance at these incredible prizes. Happy grilling. Welcome back to the Around the House Show, the next generation of home improvement. If you want to find out more about us, find us on YouTube. Just look Around the House Show, or you can head over to Around the House Online and find the YouTube channel there. Now let's get back to our conversation with Todd Miller from Isaiah Industries. We're talking metal roofing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is great. So what's the process for people that are really trying to explore metal for their home, whether it's on the side as an accent wall or on the roof?
One of the things I always suggest is to, and I suppose I'm a little bit biased in this response, Eric, but is to start with finding the product that you like. And a lot of times that starts with kind of setting your criteria. What do you want to accomplish with that next roof? Do you care about aesthetics? Do you care about energy efficiency? Do you care about fire safety, wind resistance, low weight? What is it that you want to accomplish? Because there are certain things that even a metal roof may do that a homeowner may say, I don't really care about that, and that's fine. But set your criteria and then go out and find the product that meets those criteria. And then go to the manufacturer of that product and say, hey, who in my area is experienced and trained to install this? One of the things that metal roofing has oftentimes gotten up, I don't know if I want to say black eye, but thing that people say a lot is, I can't find anyone that knows how to do it. And you're absolutely right. If you go to a lot of contractors, they're going to tell you, no, I really never have done one. And so you end up with the product that they want you to have rather than the product that you want to have. So my suggestion is figure out what you want to accomplish, go out and research manufacturers, and then connect with manufacturers that produce that product and use them to drive you toward an experienced contractor. And of course, the website I mentioned earlier from the Metal Roofing Alliance, metalroofing.com, is a great place to do that. And my own company, of course, has our websites as well that we can connect people with products and contractors as well.
Yeah, I know one of the top questions people ask is, okay, I've got a quote for a nice high-end architectural tar-based roofing product, let's say. I don't want to get after too many brands out there, but I'm looking at metal as well. What kind of price differences are we seeing between those? And I know we're trying to take apples and oranges and there's between those, but is there any help to guide people of what the difference is before they start that journey?
Absolutely. And we try to be very upfront about that. So metal roofing does come in a fairly wide range of products. So you've got what I call entry level, which is basically sheets of corrugated roofing that have screws driven right through them. And you've seen these products used on agricultural buildings and so forth, but they're also used residentially. And that's entry level. And then from there, you move on up into standing seam and metal shingle type products. And then you get into the real high end stuff, which oftentimes is those natural metals like copper and zinc and anodized and some of the more exotic things. But I generally tell people entry level metal roof probably is going to be about double the cost of a good fiberglass or asphalt shingle. You get into standing seam and the metal shingles, they're probably going to be 2.5 to 3 times the cost. And then you get into the natural metal type products, they're probably going to be 3.5 to 4 times the cost. So that kind of becomes your range. And again, comes down to figuring out what you want to accomplish with that next roof, how long you intend to stay in the home. A story I love to tell is my own parents a number of years ago had built a new home. Of course, they put our roof on it, but the home that they were moving out of had asphalt shingles. And when they went to sell the home, the roof was shot. They needed a new roof. And, we were all like, put asphalt on it again. It makes no sense for you to put metal on that house and turn around and sell it. You'll never get the value out of it.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely for somebody, one, that's going to be there for a while, because you're spending more money, but you're also getting that added durability and that product looking so much better for years to come. And again, if you're working on a historical project and you had copper in places and things like that, you can really make some pretty poor design choices by trying to put an asphalt or a fiberglass shingle in that place, because it just is going to look like you went the cheap way with it.
Yeah. It was interesting. I had a homeowner contact me earlier today, and he's got wood shingles on his house, and they're shot. They need to be replaced. And he's obviously concerned about cost. He's got a pretty big roof, but he realizes that anything that he goes to that doesn't keep him with that sort of higher end, either wood shingle or slate look, is going to be a real downgrade to his home and really probably make it so it doesn't look right in his neighborhood. And that impacts saleability of a house. It impacts how desirable a home will be to a future owner. And he realizes all those things. He still doesn't necessarily like the idea of what he's going to have to pay for this new roof, but
Nobody
he
does.
understands. Absolutely. He understands those concerns.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things too that a lot of people forget about is, if I was living on the West Coast, which I am, and I was going to be in my house for a while where it wasn't just a, hey, I'm selling it in 5 years and going type of situation, I'd sure look at metal just because of our wildfire risks and that stuff that's been creeping up and getting bigger and bigger and bigger on the West Coast, because for a number of reasons, we're getting a lot more fires than we used to out here. And I'm not going to dive into the rabbit hole of forest management, but we've got some serious issues that we've got to resolve. And these little fires are now big fires. Yeah. And they sure have been creeping into neighborhoods where you'd never think of it. And a lot of people have still those old wooden shake roofs and stuff like that you would see in those areas.
That's been the wildfire risk has been a real driver of interest in metal roofing for a number of years. And really what we're seeing now is it's driving interest in metal wall panels as well, because they're saying, if I'm going to put a metal roof on, I probably better do something to the walls of my house. And then the thing that I think is really cool, you've probably talked about this before though, but is the vents that are being developed that close down during fire storms.
Yep.
And I think that's just fascinating technology and some cool stuff, because we got to have vents in our attic to keep on most homes. You could have a totally conditioned home, but usually you got to have vents, and those will suck embers in, and now you got a fire starting inside the attic, which isn't good, obviously. So I love some of the things that O'Hagan Vents and some of the others are doing. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think I don't like to sit there and wave this should be building code things. I know that gets expensive, but I think in many areas that is stuff that should be adopted fairly quickly. It's crazy. The expense of a little more on vents could make a huge difference on a new construction home or a remodel out there. I'd sure like to see that being used a lot more, because that could sure prevent a lot of pain and disaster down the road.
I agree. And I think you and I maybe have talked about this before, but when it comes to building codes, everyone says, I'm building to code. Well, you got to understand, code is the bare minimum. This is what you got to do. But to really build a superior dwelling or a superior structure, you got to be prepared to go beyond code in some cases as well.
Todd, I couldn't agree with you more. I have seen dozens in my life, horribly constructed homes that 100% met building code, but were just poorly constructed. I saw a house one time that it was one of those concrete homes where they put the foam Lego blocks together. And of course, I'm trying not to use brand names because I
know what you mean, though.
With this, you pour the concrete in the middle, and this contractor had never done it before. And it was a windy day. So the 2-story exterior wall had a really nice bow to it, like a sail from the wind. And the trim rooms were bowed on the inside. It was but it met building code altogether. It wouldn't have passed any kind of a building inspection if a homeowner had paid for it. But as far as matching building code, it was right there and perfectly passed code, but it turned out into a triangular bowed home. And I was like, there's not much you can do with this, guys, except try to build it out and flat it out. But they were trying to get some ideas, and it was insane. And that just proves the point of building code is that minimum code. And I'd sure like to see, and we're seeing people now really building to exceed that with building science and stuff these days, that we're really starting to see a number of builders across the country, whether you're in the South building some of these new fortified homes where they're building them to take Category 5 hurricanes to other things. It's nice to see the industry expanding beyond what normal code would be.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
So it's good. But where are you seeing your emerging markets for metal roofing? Is it just popping up everywhere? Because it seems, as we talked about earlier, it's just growing more and more. To find out more information about the show, head to aroundthehouseonline.com. We'll return with Todd Miller from Isaiah Industries. We're talking metal roofing just as soon as Around the House returns. Don't change that dial. From August 20th to 27th, it's time to fire up the grill and celebrate Monument Grill's annual Big Week. Monument Grill's Day is here, a week-long celebration of joy and outdoor cooking, perfect for backyard barbecues, community events, or just exploring the latest Monument Grill's product at your nearest store. Monument Grill's knows the best moments are shared with loved ones, even your furry friends. This year, they're inviting you to join in the fun. Capture your grill adventures and share them on social media using hashtag Monument Grill's Day to snag your one-of-a-kind avatar. It's all about celebrating those unforgettable moments and spreading the grilling love. And here's the big news. Monument Grills is kicking off their biggest giveaway campaign of the year. You could win top-tier prizes like the Denali 605 Pro 6-burner Bluetooth gas grill, the Powerhouse Mesa 415BZ 4-burner grill, or the Stylus Mesa 200G, with prizes totaling over $1,500. This is one giveaway you don't want to miss. Visit monumentgrills.com and head to the Monument Grills Day event page to learn how to join the festivities and grab your chance at these incredible prizes. Happy grilling. Hey guys, it's Eric G, and I have a special offer for you. Do you want to get the podcast a couple days early? How about extended content that isn't in the typical podcast? Maybe you want to check out all the back episodes of the show. And I got a special deal for the month of August. The first 10 days are free. I want to personally invite you to be an Around the House insider. For about $4 a month, you can get exclusive extended episodes, early access to the weekend show, and exclusive access to me, Eric G, for project questions or comments
comments. Check on the link on your podcast player in the show notes or head to aroundthehouseonline.com and look for the join here button. Make sure and sign up today because this special deal only goes through the month of August. As always, thanks for tuning in to Around the House. Welcome back to the Around the House Show, the next generation of home improvement. If you want to find out more about us, find us on YouTube. Just look Around the House Show, or you can head over to Around the House Online and find the YouTube channel there. Now let's get back to our conversation with Todd Miller from Isaiah Industries. We're talking metal roofing. But there's always myths in the construction industry, right? What are some of the ones that you see out there where you just roll your eyes and go, oh, it's this one again?
You're right. There are a lot of concerns out there that sometimes are completely unbased. And one of them is that a metal roof is going to be noisy. I literally in 44 years in this industry, I have had 2 complaints about noise. And both of those were situations where they had no attic insulation, in fact, no attic space. They laid in bed and looked up at the underside of their roof deck, which is unusual. I call it California or Hawaiian construction, which is normally where I'll see it. But I had a couple of complaints there about noise, just 2 over the years. And in those cases, you can actually insulate on top of the decking to control that sound transfer. That's one of them. I think another one is lightning. Folks are concerned that a metal roof somehow attracts lightning. Well, metal doesn't attract lightning. It does conduct electricity. So the key on that is lightning will typically strike the highest object around, path of least resistance, rather than go to a metal structure or a metal object. And one of the things that's important is to think about that a metal roof grounds out through the structure. Now, years ago, again, I'm old enough to remember this, pipes coming up through roofs from bathrooms were oftentimes cast iron. Yeah. And yet a cast iron pipe coming out and a metal roof got electrified. You better look out if you're in the bathtub, okay? It's going to get exciting real quick. But now all of that stuff has to be PVC coming through the roof so that it will not conduct that charge. I think another thing a lot of times that sometimes folks wonder about with metal roof, and I touched on earlier, but who can install it? And that has been a problem in the past, but we've got some very robust industry training programs. NRCA now even has a pro certification program for metal roofing. So it's pretty easy if you do your research to find a competent and skilled installer today as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like so many products out there, and I'll say HVAC, I'll say roofing, I'll say there's a lot of different products out there that the quality of the product is 50% of the battle. The rest of it is making sure you've got somebody that knows what they're doing, that's putting it on, that's been factory trained or been trained by other professionals to follow the best practice of that product. Because how many times do we see something that's just an amazing product, but got wrecked up during the install process and it's not going to ever perform like it was designed?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's really key. And I was called in on a project recently where the homeowner was concerned. It wasn't our product, it was someone else's product, but they were concerned it hadn't been installed right. And so we went out and did an inspection just as a courtesy and actually found it was installed really pretty well. But again, people just don't know what they're looking for with a metal roof. And as I always say, you got 3 things. You got building code requirements, you've got industry best practices, and then you have whatever specifications are required by that manufacturer. And somehow those 3 all have to get brought together in terms of finding a product that is installed right in the end and a project that is going to be successful.
Great example. If you've got a house that was framed, met building code, everything else, there's nothing in building code says that thing has to be square on that roof, right? Maybe somebody didn't take the time to square that off. If you're going to put square pieces of metal on it, that's not the optimal one to be up there with your magnifying glass looking at every installation, because they're going to have to work with that as best they can. But an unsquare house, putting square things on it, you're always going to have to fudge it a little bit here and there to make it look right.
Yeah, and if you've done your checking in advance and when you're dealing with those circumstances, you can usually come up with some little tricks. I know we know a number of them to fool the eye and to make it work anyway and keep it from looking bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's some of the challenge that I see. And especially when when homeowners are trying to do this as a DIY project, there's so many tricks of the trade with it, of the right way to put these pieces on, what trim goes on first, what trim goes on last. There's a lot of little tricks that I wouldn't want a contractor or a homeowner just trying to dive in for their first one without some prior education.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's cool. We've got about a 12,000 square foot training facility here at our place in Ohio. And so we bring typically groups of contractors in 3 to 5 times a month to run them through installation training. And we'll train them even on competitors' products. We'll train them on anything just to make sure that we're getting an army built of qualified and trained installers out there.
Man, that is great. And there's so many great products out there that goes beyond that, from the different products now, as far as roof sheathing that's got the weather barrier built into it, that has just really made probably that installation so much easier through the process, because technology keeps getting better and better, including your industry.
Absolutely. Things are improving all the time. And one of the nice things that I think that also means is homeowners have a lot of good products to choose from out there. You can still find some guys out there that are selling secondary products, or maybe products that they somehow got from overseas that are lower quality. But by and large, there are a lot of good products out there today.
Yeah, that is great. Before we go, I wanted to talk about your construction disruption podcast and what you've got going on there, because you've been cranking along with that, my friend. And for people out there that are tackling those projects, whether you're a contractor or even an experienced DIY, it's a valuable tool for people to check out.
We've had so much fun with that. It's been almost 3 years. Folks who want to visit it, it's construction hyphen, just the little mark, construction-disruption.com. But I'll tell you what I've really enjoyed is how much I have learned. We have had guests on talking about new types of building materials, new technologies. We've had a number of architects, and that's always been fun getting their perspective. We've also dug into a few things that are issues in our industry regarding addiction, even suicide awareness, because we find that the rates of those can be high amongst construction workers. And so we've touched on a few of those topics that can be pretty life-changing. But we try to make the podcast fun. We do some little fun things on every show, but we really do try to make it so that doesn't have to just be for someone in the trades. It can be for a property owner, and it's just fun place to learn and a great time.
I got to call you out and see here, what are some of your favorite episodes that you look back and go, wow, this was notable, at least in your own mind?
My one with you was certainly very notable. Another guest I've really enjoyed, we've had on twice, is a gentleman by the name of David Applebaum. David,
friend, I have been down to David's house, hung out with him in person, and I had him on here many times. Talk about a great soul of a person and a talented architect.
Yeah, he really is. So he's been fun to have on. We've also had a guy by the name of Wolf Richter, and Wolf has a website called wolf.com, and he does economics analysis. He came out of the automotive industry. He looks at housing. He looks at what's happening in the economy, and he always has some great insight. We've also had Eric Finnegan from John Burns Research and Development. Eric looks a lot at the home improvement industry and market. That's been a lot of fun. Another one we had was a company out in Pennsylvania called Stellar Floors, and they have come up with a wood floor that you can actually pull individual planks out of and replace them. And so if you get a bad scratch or something on an individual plank, you can pop it out and pop a new one in. And so they're doing some cool stuff too.
That is cool. I wish we would have had that for the beach house that we were just working on that had so much water damage in it. It was the people on the show have heard it. Our audience out here have heard this a lot, but it was a rescue house that we did out on the Oregon coast out here. And when we went to look at it, it had had tarps on the roof for about 20 plus years. And we hauled about 2,000 pounds of tarps off of this thing. So for 20 years, they just kept putting new tarps on top. But the hardwood floors, when we were in there looking at it on a November day, it was raining outside. And it was like somebody had a garden hose landing on the floors in the living room. And there was a lot of weaving in spots. We'll put it that way.
Sure. This is pretty cool what these guys are doing. So anyway, yeah, it's just been a blast being on having the show and learning from folks.
That is great. So Todd, let's round this out here and wrap it up with ways people can find you, of course, Isaiah Industries and everything else, just to make sure we get everybody locked in and get their arms around all this so they can get more information.
Sure, they can always visit us on the web at isaiahindustries.com. I also have an educational website where I answer people's questions about roofing and ventilation and condensation and such things, and that is asktoddmiller.com. Sometimes that's easier to spell than Isaiah, so folks can find me there as well. And I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so if you just search Todd Miller Roofing, you're going to find me on there as well. But always happy to touch base with people and feel very blessed anytime we can possibly help lead them in a good direction and answer their questions.
And I appreciate what you're doing out there for the industry as well, Todd. You guys are really making a difference out there with education and the podcast, which is even more education as well. So thanks for coming on Around the House today, my friend. Can't wait till next time.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's been a blast.
I'm Eric G, and you've been listening to Around the House. Hey guys, it's Eric G, and I have a special offer for you. Do you want to get the podcast a couple days early? How about extended content that isn't in the typical podcast? Maybe you want to check out all the back episodes of the show. And I got a special deal for the month of August. The first 10 days are free. I want to personally invite you to be an Around the House insider. For about $4 a month, you can get exclusive extended episodes, early access to the weekend show, and exclusive access to me, Eric G, for project questions or comments. Check on the link on your podcast player in the show notes, or head to aroundthehouseonline.com and look for the join here button. Make sure and sign up today because this special deal only goes through the month of August. As always, thanks for tuning in to Around the House.